Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, you've probably noticed how massive the shift toward cloud computing and containerization has been lately, right? Technologies like Docker and Kubernetes are completely taking over the industry. But running parallel to that infrastructure boom is another massive evolution, a fundamental shift in how we actually build our software systems from the ground up. Today, we're breaking down microservices versus monolithic architecture to understand exactly why this massive shift is happening.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the evolution of architecture, then look at monolithic design, dive into microservices, weigh the pros and cons, and finally, wrap up with how these services actually communicate.
All right, part one, the software architecture evolution.
We are currently right in the middle of an industry-wide shift toward distributed systems, and it's really fueled by a trio of technologies. You've got cloud computing giving us the scalable infrastructure, paired with containerization tools like Docker and orchestration platforms like Kubernetes. These modern tools have absolutely changed the game. They've made it possible to build, deploy, and manage applications in entirely new, decentralized ways, which basically lets us move away from the heavy, rigid methods of the past.
Which brings us to part two, understanding monolithic architecture.
Before we break things apart, let's talk about the old status quo, the monolith. This basically means developing all of your software components and modules as a single, indivisible unit. The whole thing lives inside one shared codebase in a single repository. Honestly, if you were building an application back in the day, this single unit approach was just the easiest way to start developing and deploying. It's all neatly wrapped in one easily deployable package.
Think about a classic e-commerce site. You have all these distinct business functions, right? An order service, inventory, payment, customer profiles, shipping, the whole shebang. In a monolithic setup, all of these modules are tightly packed together. They are treated as one massive, cohesive unit. Now, while that might be super easy to deploy on day one, it creates a highly rigid internal structure.
But here's the kicker. What actually happens to this giant, single-unit system during something crazy like a massive Black Friday or New Year's sale? Imagine thousands of customers suddenly flooding the site all at once to browse and check out. This is exactly where we hit the ultimate breaking point for traditional systems.
You essentially slam into two very painful limitations. First up, scaling limits. If you just need to boost the customer or order service to handle that sudden traffic spike, well, too bad, you can't. You are forced to scale the entire massive application, which just eats up unnecessary resources. And second, tight coupling. Because all these modules are completely dependent on each other, a single code change becomes dangerously complex. Like say you want to upgrade the payment service to fix a security flaw. One error there risks bringing the entire system crashing down. It's a house of cards.
Okay, part three, enter microservices architecture. Because those limitations were just too brutal, the industry needed a better way. And that way is microservices architecture. It literally means breaking down an application into smaller, manageable, and completely independent pieces. Instead of one giant block of code, we physically separate the user interface, the business logic, and the databases. Each piece does its own specific job. And what's really amazing here is that entirely different teams can now manage, build, and deploy these units without ever stepping on each other's toes. Let's directly compare the two. Think of our old monolithic e-commerce site. It has to scale every single feature together, which is incredibly wasteful. But now, imagine an education platform, like the GATE exam portal, built with microservices. When it's time for students to download their admit cards, traffic on that one specific page goes through the roof. With microservices, we target and scale only the admit card download service. We don't waste server power scaling the entire website. That surgical, targeted scaling is exactly why this architecture has exploded in popularity.
Moving on to part four, comparing pros and cons. First, the advantages, and honestly, they are game-changing. We already saw targeted scalability, but consider the tech flexibility. Because the services are separate, one team can code a component in Java, another can use Python, and another can use .NET. You also get much faster parallel development since teams work independently. And finally, high system resilience. If the payment service completely crashes in a microservice environment, the whole app doesn't die. Customers can still browse, and the shipping services stay completely functional while you fix the payment issue.
But let's do a quick reality check here. Microservices are not a magic bullet. By breaking things apart, you are now dealing with massive distributed system complexity. Just managing data consistency across multiple, separated databases is incredibly tricky. Plus, instead of one simple deployment, you now have complex CI/CD pipelines for every single service. And integrated testing? It becomes a massive hurdle because you have to test dozens of separate moving parts to make sure they all play nice together.
Finally, Part 5, how microservices communicate. Breaking everything down poses a very natural, lingering question. If all these services are living in their own isolated little bubbles, how do they actually talk to each other? For example, if a user adds a product to their cart and then goes to pay, the inventory service and the payment service absolutely must interact to complete the transaction. How does that happen if they aren't in the same code base?
Well, there are two primary ways we connect the dots here. First is synchronous communication. Think of this like a live phone call. One service sends a direct HTTP or REST API request to another service and basically waits on the line for an immediate response. The second method is asynchronous communication. Think of this more like leaving a voicemail. Services use messaging queues, like Kafka, to drop a message into a queue. The receiving service then picks it up and processes it whenever it's ready. Both methods elegantly bridge the gap between entirely separate code bases.
I want to wrap up with this incredibly relevant thought from our source material. Adapting from monolithic to microservices and mastering how they communicate is essential for succeeding in modern technical interviews. That really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's not just theory. Understanding these mechanics, why we break things apart, and exactly how we stitch them back together is absolutely critical for your IT career right now. So, looking at your own projects today, are you still dealing with a massive monolith, or are you ready to break it down? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.